The failure here is not just a moment of personal rejection, but a culmination of years of neglect, abandonment, and emotional cruelty. The scene unfolds in the opulent ballroom of the Grand Bellevue Hotel, a symbol of wealth and exclusivity, where the narrator, Isabel Carter, is confronted by her family's blatant disregard for her existence. Her mother's voice cuts through the room like a blade, sharp and deliberate, designed to wound. The murmurs of the crowd falter, champagne glasses freeze mid-air, and all eyes turn toward the weight of her mother's disgust. Sophia, her younger sister, smugly announces that Isabel is not on the guest list, her voice loud enough to ignite the whispers of the crowd. Gregory Carter, her father, remains stoic, sipping his drink without so much as a glance in her direction, as though she is invisible. This is the family that abandoned her, erased her, and now pretends she doesn't exist. Yet Isabel steps forward, her heels clicking against the marble floor, a sound that echoes like a countdown, a declaration, a warning. She refuses to shrink into the shadows any longer. The tension in the room is palpable as the guests sense the crack in the perfect facade of the Carter family. Ryan Sterling, Sophia's fiancé, is the first to show real fear, his smirk vanishing as he stiffens, his expression betraying the dread of someone who has seen a ghost. Isabel's quiet, controlled question, "Do you really not know who I am?" sends a ripple of unease through the room. The whispers grow louder, the polished facade of the Carters begins to fracture, and Isabel reclaims her identity with a deliberate smile. "My name is Isabel Carter," she declares, and with those words, the perfect world her family has built begins to crumble. This failure lies in the family's inability to see her as anything more than a burden, a mistake, or a ghost of their past. It is a failure of empathy, of love, and of humanity. Isabel's presence in the ballroom is not just a confrontation, but a reckoning, a moment that forces her family to face the consequences of their cruelty. The cold she remembers from the night they cast her out was not just the chill of the wind, but the icy rejection of those who were supposed to love her unconditionally. Her mother's words, "You're a burden, a waste of time, a waste of money," echo the deeper failure of a family that values appearances and status over the bonds of kinship. Now, standing in the heart of their world, Isabel refuses to be erased any longer. She is no longer the helpless girl they threw away. She is the force that will dismantle their perfect illusion, one shattered moment at a time. I wanted to scream, to fight, to plead, but I already knew how this would end. "No buts, Isabel," my father cut in, his voice as cold as the icy night air. "You're an adult, figure it out." And just like that, the door shut, and I was erased. I remember staring at that door, waiting for it to open, for someone, anyone, to come after me. No one did. The wind howled through the empty streets as I clutched my coat tighter around me, my entire world reduced to the 1728 in my pocket and the clothes on my back. For 3 nights I slept behind Rosie's diner, curled up near the dumpsters where the heat from the kitchen vents barely kept me from freezing. Hunger gnawed at me, exhaustion dragged my limbs down like lead, but I refused to break. Then, on the 4th morning, I was caught. Rita Dawson, the owner of the diner, stood over me, arms folded, her sharp eyes assessing me. "If you're going to loiter, you might as well make yourself useful," she said, tossing a broom at my feet. That was my first break. I scrubbed floors, washed dishes, worked double shifts without complaint. By the end of the month, Rita let me sleep on an old cot in the back storage room. By the end of the year, I had scraped together enough to enroll in community college. I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. At 20, I earned a full scholarship to a prestigious business program. At 23, I was interning at a fast-growing medical startup. At 27, I launched my own medical nutrition brand, a company that would disrupt the industry and make me millions. And the Carters? They never knew because they didn't deserve to. Sophia recovers first, of course. She tilts her chin up, that ever-present smirk twisting her lips. The golden child, so sure of her place in the world, so certain of her untouchability. She lets out a short, mocking laugh, loud enough for the nearby guests to hear. God, Isabel, you just had to show up and embarrass yourself, didn't you? She sneers, her voice dripping with condescension. Still desperate for attention, I see. You couldn't even make it through college. And now you're trying to what? Crash my wedding and make a scene? I smile, slow and deliberate. Oh, I muse, tilting my head. Is that what they told you? For the first time, I see the faintest flicker of uncertainty in her gaze. I reach into my clutch and pull out a neatly folded sheet of paper, holding it up like a weapon. This moment is not just about proving them wrong. It's about reclaiming the narrative they stole from me. The paper in my hand is more than just a document. It's proof of my resilience, my success, and my refusal to be erased. Sophia's smirk falters and the room holds its breath as I prepare to shatter the illusion they've built, one where I am nothing more than a forgotten failure. Tonight, I am no longer the girl they cast out. I am Isabel Carter, and I am here to rewrite the story. The room seems to hold its breath as I take my time unfolding the document, letting the tension coil tight, letting the weight of the moment settle over Sophia and Ryan. I hold it up just enough for Ryan, standing stiffly beside her, to see. His eyes move across the page and his face drains of color. "What is this?" he asks, his voice quiet, but laced with something dangerous underneath. Sophia shifts beside him, her fingers clenching. "Oh, please," she scoffs, her voice dripping with disdain. "She's making things up." "It's your academic record," I say smoothly, my tone calm and deliberate. "The one that proves you never finished medical school." A murmur ripples through the nearby guests, their curiosity sharpening as they lean in, sensing the crack in the perfect facade. Ryan doesn't move. He just keeps staring at the document as if he can't quite believe what he's reading. His jaw tightens, his fingers flexing at his sides. He knows it's real. Sophia's eyes dart between us, panic creeping into her expression. Then she laughs, not a nervous laugh, but a loud, performative one. She throws her head back as if this is the funniest thing she's ever heard. "This is pathetic," she scoffs, shaking her head. "You show up here with some fake paper and think you can ruin my wedding. Honestly, Isabel, I should be flattered." "I mean, it's obvious you're just jealous. Look at me. Look at my life. I have everything you don't. A successful fiancé, a loving family, a future you could only dream of." I don't react. Instead, I step closer, my voice calm and measured. "If I'm so irrelevant," I murmur, "why do you look so nervous?" Her smirk flickers just for a fraction of a second, but I see it. Ryan sees it too. His grip tightens around the document. "Sophia," he says slowly, his voice cold, "tell me this isn't true." She scoffs again, but there's an edge to it now, a brittle quality that wasn't there before. "Oh my God, Ryan, you're actually believing her." "You know how she is. She twists things. She lies just to make herself feel important." "Lies?" I cut in smoothly, my tone cutting through her bravado. "Interesting, because I have more." The tension in the room shifts, sharp and electric. Margaret steps forward now, ever the strategist, ever the cold, calculating matriarch. "Enough of this nonsense," she says, her voice clipped. "I won't let you ruin your sister's wedding with these absurd accusations." I turn to her, meeting her gaze head on. "Oh, Margaret," I say, smiling just slightly, "you should know better than anyone that I don't make accusations. I present facts." And then I drop the next bombshell. "Why don't we talk about the financial fraud case against the Carter family clinic?" Dead silence. Gregory Carter, my father, the man who stood in that doorway all those years ago and threw me into the cold, stiffens. His jaw twitches, and for the first time I see a flicker of something in his eyes. Fear. The room is frozen, every eye on me, every breath held. The perfect world they built is crumbling, and I am the architect of its downfall. I reach into my clutch again, this time pulling out a sleek black USB drive. I toy with it between my fingers, watching as realization dawns in Gregory's eyes. "I have bank statements," I continue, my voice light, almost casual. "Emails, legal documents, proof that your little family-run clinic has been committing insurance fraud for years." Sophia inhales sharply, her hand flying to her chest. Margaret's fingers tighten around the stem of her champagne flute, her knuckles turning white. Gregory pales, his composure cracking as the murmur among the guests grows louder, whispers turning into quiet gasps. "That's ridiculous," Gregory says finally, his voice low and controlled, though I can hear the faint tremor beneath it. "You have no idea what you're talking about." I take a slow step closer, lowering my voice just enough for only him to hear. "You didn't think anyone would find out, did you?" He flinches. For the first time in my life, Gregory Carter looks afraid. Dr. Manning steps forward, his face red with fury, his fingers clenched into fists at his sides. The once composed and distinguished hospital director now looks like a man who just realized he's been made a fool of. His voice cuts through the stunned silence like a blade. "You told me she had her degree," he says, his sharp gaze locked on Gregory. "You vouched for her. You guaranteed her credentials were legitimate." Margaret, ever the master of deception, straightens her shoulders, forcing a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. "Dr. Manning, this is a misunderstanding. Whatever my daughter did or didn't do—" "She never graduated," I interject, my voice cool and steady. "She never even came close." Ryan hasn't moved. He's still staring at the document in his hands, his knuckles white, his breathing uneven. Finally, he exhales, slow and measured, and turns to Sophia. His voice is eerily calm. "Tell me, this isn't true?" Sophia doesn't answer. Ryan's face hardens, his fingers curling around the engagement ring on his hand. "I defended you," he mutters, his voice barely above a whisper. "I trusted you. And the whole time you were just—" He cuts himself off with a sharp, humorless laugh. Then, without another word, he yanks the ring off his finger and hurls it at her feet. The metallic clink against the marble floor is deafening. Sophia makes a desperate sound, reaching for his arm, but Ryan steps back, disgust twisting his features. "Don't!" he snaps, his voice filled with raw betrayal. Margaret's eyes widen, and she lunges forward, her voice dropping into a pleading tone, one laced with the kind of manipulation she's perfected over the years. "Ryan, sweetheart, let's be reasonable. You and Sophia are meant to be together. A few mistakes don't change that." Ryan shakes his head, his expression filled with something dangerously close to regret. "You don't get it, do you? It's not just one mistake. It's everything, every word, every lie, every fraud." He turns to look at me then, his gaze filled with something unreadable. She was right. Margaret blinks, momentarily speechless, and for the first time, true desperation flickers in her eyes. But I'm not done yet. I exhale, slow and deliberate, letting the weight of the moment settle before I continue. The room is mine now, and I intend to make sure they never forget this night, or the truth they tried so hard to bury. I drop the final bombshell. You've been using my identity for tax fraud for the past decade. The room erupts. Margaret gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. Gregory's face goes white, his carefully constructed mask of composure crumbling. The whispers around the ballroom turn into full-blown murmurs of shock. "That's a lie!" Gregory snarls, his voice shaking, but the desperation in his eyes betrays him. I smile, cool and unflinching. "Is it?" I pull a second USB drive from my clutch, holding it between two fingers. Because I had my identity checked recently. Imagine my surprise when I found out that someone had been filing fraudulent tax returns under my name, someone who just so happens to own a certain family-run clinic. Dr. Manning turns sharply to his assistant. "Call the legal department, now!" Gregory lunges forward, but security is already stepping in, the weight of my words crashing over him like a tidal wave. His composure shatters. "You think you're better than us?" he roars, his voice desperate, unhinged. I meet his eyes, tilting my head slightly. "I don't have to think it," I say, my voice smooth, unshaken. "I know it." Security grips his arms just as Margaret stumbles back, her perfectly polished facade cracking, panic finally setting in. The guests step away now, their gazes filled with nothing but judgment and scandal. The once revered Carters are nothing more than cautionary tales. And Sophia, she's on her knees, sobbing, her perfect wedding dress pooling around her in ruins. I take one last look at the wreckage I've left behind, then I turn my back on them. The ballroom is chaos. Security moves swiftly, their voices low but firm as they escort Gregory and Margaret Carter out, their protests drowned by the murmurs and stares of the onlookers. The mighty, once untouchable Carters are reduced to nothing. Dr. Manning is already making calls, ensuring Gregory's medical license is revoked. The IRS won't be far behind. Their empire is crumbling, their wealth, their influence, gone. And Sophia? She's still on her knees, her sobs muffled against the pristine marble floor. The engagement ring Ryan threw at her feet glints under the chandelier light, untouched, abandoned, just like she left me all those years ago. I take one last look, not out of nostalgia, not out of regret, but because I want to remember this moment. The moment the people who discarded me finally faced the weight of what they had done. Sophia's tear-streaked face lifts to meet mine, desperation, clear in her trembling voice. "Isabel, please." The plea I once might have yearned to hear, the one I once would have clung to, but that girl, the one who wanted their approval, their love, died in the cold the night they shut that door. I tilt my head, considering, then smile faintly. "You never cared about me," I murmur, my voice soft, final. "And now, I don't care about you." Her lips tremble, a fresh sob threatening to break free, but I don't wait to hear it. I turn, stepping over the shattered remains of their perfect little world, and walk away. Outside, the air is crisp, fresh, like the first breath after escaping a burning building. The city hums in the distance, unaware of the destruction I've just left behind, and Nathan is waiting. He doesn't speak at first, just watches me, his dark eyes assessing. He doesn't ask if I'm okay, he already knows. Instead, he raises a brow, his lips twitching slightly. "So, cake?" I blink, startled, Then laughter spills out of me, a real, unrestrained laugh, the kind I haven't felt in years. Yes, I say, still grinning. Let's get cake, because revenge wasn't the point. Freedom was. And now I am finally, completely free.